It's time to talk SEC football.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith. Today, we're going to have some chat questions all about the SEC and anything else you want to discuss. But the rest of the show is, quite frankly, about my predictions from the Heisman candidates to who should be. Hint, it's a very good pass rusher from the University of Texas. Now, I can't find him anywhere in the numbers, but we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the best teams, the best games. I still think the LSU and Ole Miss game, hint on that as well, is the best in the nation this year. All kinds of things to get to. So it's going to be a lot of fun. If you got any questions about the SEC, I'm probably going to cover it. And if I don't, drop it in the chat and we will have some fun with that. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. You can play Daily Dingers and get a bonus on your next bet at FanDuel.com. Check it out over at FanDuel. We're going to talk, first thing here is not just the standings, but I'm going to mix it in with some of the key games. And I think it's fun because I've got all these games written down and everybody has their own opinions on who's going to win, who's going to lose, and everything else. And that's fine. But football comes down to quarterback play. So if you take nothing else from this, just know that the odds that I'm going to put up here in a minute with the Heisman stuff, that's FanDuel, and that's because the voters always don't get mad at me, don't get mad at FanDuel. The voters vote for quarterbacks. There are quite a few in the SEC this year that are returning, and that also impacts the rankings and the games. But overall, I think it's pretty maddening if you look at the lists, who's going to win and who's not, because I don't think there's going to be a more difficult week. It took me about 3 hours yesterday to do my lineup of SEC standings, and I'm not exaggerating. Going through the games one by one is not an easy endeavor, and it was fun, but it was also maddening. So without further ado, here's how I have the SEC breaking down this season. 1 through 16, and I'm sure I'll make some people mad, especially on those bottom 5 or 6 teams, but they're the usual suspects. It's about as close to chalk as you might think, and I'm sure some people won't like it, but let's just kind of go through this one by one, and I'll start with the University of Georgia. Why do I have them 11-1, winning the league and going 8-1 in conference play? Well, it's 2 primary reasons. They're always towards the top of the league. It's not a hard pick. And number 2, Gunnar Stockton is a graduate student. He's a returning starter. He's had offseason film. He's had time to adapt, learn the scheme over and over again. It's just reps. The thing that has been missing for them is a quarterback that can win really big games. I still need him to make that step based on the quarterback and not a defense that was insanely young. They're still one of the younger teams in college football. They might even be better next year if they can find a quarterback to replace Gunnar Stockton. But I think their defense will be lights out. Remember the game they played in Atlanta against Alabama? I mean, that Alabama offense was really good, and they just punched them in the mouth. So at the end of the year, they were pretty good. They struggled with Ole Miss, but everybody struggled with Ole Miss, with Trinidad and Lane and everybody down there. Charlie Weiss Jr., they did a really good job. But they were still in it. I think that Georgia's going to take another step. The only game that I have them losing, ironically, is once again Ole Miss. Until I'm a guy that you got to prove it to me. Ole Miss has found the elixir against the Georgia defense. Until otherwise proven, I'm going with Ole Miss. That's the one game that I have the Dogs losing this year. We'll see how that goes. Number 2 on my list is not a real big surprise, and I got a 3-way tie for second place. Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas. By the way, for any of the ties, I just put it in alphabetical order. There was no other reason. Alabama was the most convoluted of this group. I think they will be the least likely to be a deep playoff run team because it's going to be a first-year quarterback. But at the same time, Grubb and the board, they understand quarterbacks. They'll figure it out, whether it's Mac, whether it's Russell, I don't care which. They'll be good. That secondary they have might be the best in the country. It's certainly top 5 by any measurement, probably top 3. I love that secondary. Now, can they run the ball? That's the big question. If Alabama figures that out, they could be better than 10-2. I trust them to figure out quarterback. Oklahoma, this one was a little more difficult for me. Everybody's got a different opinion on Oklahoma. I think Mateer will be better, but he still needs to make post-snap reads that make me feel comfortable. I just think their schedule's a little bit easier, and they are a team with a ridiculously lethal defense. Their defensive tackles, depth there, running back will be better. They've got several young linemen returning on the offensive side of the ball. They went out and got a good receiver in the portal twice, one of which came over from Texas. That's really weird. And then finally, Brent Venables always comes up with something new for a big game opponent. He always has something. So they win close games. And if you're going to go very far in the SEC, you got to do that. Texas, it's pretty straightforward. They've got as much or more talent than anybody else. I think that they will be really good. I think they'll probably have one or two games where they miss or don't play great, but the schedule's crazy. They have Ohio State at home. They got LSU, I believe, on the road. They got A&M on the road, but they're a team that I would not want to play, especially late in the year. Arch seems to get better as the season goes on, and the more time he gets, the better he will be. They might be the favorite to win it all come playoff time, even if they don't win the SEC title game and get a top 3 seed or whatever. Texas is probably a team that I wouldn't want to play. Just to kind of finish up just in general here, I'll just read off the rest for those of you listening. Again, I had Alabama, Oklahoma, and Texas tied for second. Georgia winning the league at 8-1. The other three there at 7-2. I got LSU and Ole Miss and Texas A&M all going 6-3. Auburn going 5-4 along with the Florida Gators. I've got Missouri, South Carolina, and Tennessee all going 4-5 in the league. And then it's just the bottom of the league. I think there's a massive drop-off. Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vandy all 1-8, and I think Arkansas, a new coach. I mean, that's a complete rebuild. They're awful until otherwise proven. I don't see them being very good. A couple other notes on the league. I don't think the middle part of the league, like top end, pretty darn good. Bottom end, really bad. And in the middle is in a bit of flux. Think about it this way. Tennessee, do we know the quarterback situation? Not sure. We just don't. Ahmad Hardy at Missouri. Not having him, that's 1 or 2 games. Like, if he's not going through all the fall camp completely healthy and all that, and they've kind of hidden what's going on with him. Of course, he was a bystander and got hit by a gunshot. I mean, it's ridiculous. Hitting the leg, so that's very unfortunate. You can't lose guys like that for any period of time, fall camp or anything. How are they going to be? I really don't know. What about South Carolina? Are they going to rebound, or are they just going to be kind of middle of the pack? They lost not one, but a couple of their offensive tackles in spring, one of which I think will be back, but they still lost them, and their better of the two, I believe, is out for the year. That's tough. I know they have Lenoris back, and they've got speed everywhere, but their depth in the trenches leaves me, shall we say, very concerned. Diego Pavia being gone from Vanderbilt, that's self-explanatory, Can't lose a player like that. Diego Pavia defined a team as well as anybody else in college football over the last 5-10 years. You could argue he's the most valuable player to a team since Cam Newton at Auburn in 2010. I'm not saying it's definite, but you could at least argue it. They're not going to be nearly as good. And again, Kentucky, new staff and everything. Minchie's going to be the quarterback. Guy came over from Notre Dame. Very talented, very smart young man, good on the chalkboard, but we just don't know. And I don't think they've got the depth, kind of like some of the other teams. Then at the bottom, I mean, Mississippi State might take a step forward, win 1 or 2 more games in the league, but they're still nowhere near where they need to be. Arkansas, brand new team. I mean, the league is very odd. The middle's got questions, the bottom is obvious, and the top is. It's 3-pronged. And I don't think there's a whole lot of separation between them in the terms of those groups that once you're inside them, you could flip some of those around one game here or there and totally change your outlook on a team, but they're all probably pretty well labeled. Let's talk a little SEC quarterback when we come back. Several Heisman players, and I also have my own SEC quarterback rankings right here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. If you got a sweet tooth, which I certainly do, you know how it is to try and find that perfect treat without getting all the sugar. That is a complaint that I have about myself. That's why cotton candy 5 Hour Energy shots bring that nostalgic flavor back, but in a new way. That cotton candy taste, you remember, whether like me, used to go to fairs and stuff and get cotton candy, loved it. Baseball games too. That's something that you can get with a tasty caffeine boost and 0 sugar with 5 Hour Energy. I always used to get them, those big things of cotton candy at baseball games, and I loved it. Probably not something I should be doing, but bring on the sweetness with 5-Hour Energy's cotton candy, 5-Hour Energy shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or over at Amazon. I'm a big rankings guy when it comes to quarterbacks, positions, etc., within a league before a season. Just like it. And I think that the SEC quarterback rankings, I worked quite a bit on this. I look at it a lot different, and I'm sure I'm going to get plenty of pushback on this, but I don't care. I'm going to let it rip. This is just what I have for my top 10. I didn't go all the way through the week, but just hear me out. This is my top 10. For those of you listening later on, I'll read off all of it, but it's on the screen for everybody on YouTube. Trinidad Chambliss, I have number 1. I think that's kind of self-explanatory. He's the most dynamic quarterback in the college game. I've got Byron Brown, number 2, and I've got him higher than anybody else, and I think it's just because of fit. Notice at the bottom, for those of you on YouTube, rankings are not based on raw talent, and I should have put / projected NFL draft. It's for the college game. I think Trinidad will be a good pro player too, but Byron, I'm not sure he's going to make it as a pro, but he's a great runner, had over 1,000 yards last year, and he knows that system that Alex Golish has. I think he'll be really good on third down in particular. Gunnar Stockton at Georgia, number 3. That's not real hard. Arch Manning at Texas, although I think he'll hand off a little more this year. They'll be better in the run game. Lenore Sellers, I'm anxious to see what he can do in that new offense where they're going to go deep a lot, and he'll still run. Marcel Reed at Texas A&M is number 6. Sam Levitt, LSU, number 7. The only reason I don't have him top 3 is I'm just not sure how healthy he will be all year. John Mateer, number 8. Austin Simmons at Missouri, transfer from Ole Miss, is number 9. And Kenny Minchey, number 10 for the Kentucky Wildcats. He could spin it. Will he have enough help? A few comments down below. Watch out. 1 year from now, and he's still got some pretty good talent. KJ Jackson at Arkansas, eventual starting quarterback, I think, will be Keelan Russell, but it may not be game 1. We'll see how Alabama moves forward. Could be Austin Mack. Freshman quarterback of the year, I have Faison Brandon, quarterback over at the University of Tennessee. Speaking of quarterbacks, I also want to jump into the Heisman race, but again, as I noted earlier, do not blame FanDuel for this. The point spreads and all that stuff that you see in general, they go with what they think it's going to happen. They want half betting one way, half the other, make money. Well, they're also going to put up the odds based on how the voters go. And they always pick quarterbacks. So just keep that in mind. But I do have a little Colin Simmons thing that I want to add after I show these quarterbacks on the Heisman race. So here we go. SEC Heisman hype. This is the current odds as of today, and it is August 16th. Arch Manning at Texas, quarterback, plus 800. Well, all of these guys are quarterbacks, plus 800. Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss, plus 1,300. Gunnar Stockton, Georgia, plus 2,200. Sam Levitt, LSU, plus 2,500. John Mateer, Oklahoma, plus 2,500. Marcel Reed, Texas A&M, plus 3,000. Keelan Russell, Alabama, plus 3,000. And Lenore Sellers, South Carolina, plus 4,000. A couple of comments. I'm curious about Arch in a way that I don't think a lot of people are. He's not going to have to carry the load as much as, again, they should be able to run the ball better. Plus, not only did they get really Brown and Hollywood Smothers, but it's just a year further along on their offensive line. It should be healthier. I can't imagine they're not going to be better. Over 150 yards a game, I would think is a safe assumption. I do expect Arch to be a bull in the red zone, short yardage, fourth down, and that's fine. But I don't think that he's going to run quite as much otherwise because he won't be running for his life as often. That's just my opinion. Of course, they went and got Cam Coleman. But because of the balance, I'm not sure he's as good a Heisman guy as some think. And just to put it in perspective, I think most places have either Arch or CJ Carr at Notre Dame, like number 1. I don't think I would rank either one of them number 1 because they're so balanced. Maybe the 2 best teams in the country, you could argue that it's going to be hard for them to win it because they'll be out of games sometimes, and they'll also be distributing and running the football. That's just my opinion. So we'll see. Going back through looking at the odds, just a few other comments here. Trinidad is kind of self-explanatory, but they've got a great running back. Gunner is the one that I think is probably most interesting. Nobody at Georgia ever wins it because, again, it's the balance thing. But he threw for a lot of yards last year. And go look up his numbers in the fourth quarter. He was right around 80%. It was insane. But he wasn't consistent in most of the other quarters. It's so odd that he was really, really good in fourth quarters, but sometimes wasn't near that in others. I have no idea why. But if Georgia goes 11-1, like I think, don't be surprised if he's sitting in New York trying to earn himself a Heisman Trophy. While we're on the subject here, 5 newcomers that I want to get to after the break, but I also want to throw this up. If you want a player that I think should be in the Heisman race and somebody that probably won't get even remotely close to making it to New York, but deserves it, it's this guy right here. That would be Colin Simmons, all right? He's not just good. He's elite. 34 tackles, 33 stops, 59 pressures, 10 sacks last year for the Texas Longhorns. That's Colin Simmons. He deserves to be on your Heisman ballot. And if you are a Heisman voter, you owe it to yourself and college football to take him seriously. Even if he doesn't play offense, he's as dominant a force as we have in the college game. When we come back, we're going to talk some of the newcomers. We're going to talk about win-loss record and why I picked it the way we did and get into the questions and just have some fun. That is next right here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a home run today, FanDuel has an opportunity for you to call your shot with daily dingers. It's the opportunity to have fun, and it's easy to play. All you got to do is have a little imagination. So if your team isn't playing one day, that's okay. It could be a team that you hate. It doesn't matter because you get a bonus on doing this. It's a profit boost. The next time you bet on something, if you pick somebody that hits a home run on a given day, you get that boost on your next time that you bet and you win with FanDuel. So it can be any day of the season. Remember, it's 162 games. Daily dingers is another fun way to stay engaged again because your team's not going to play every day, and everybody's got a chance to hit a home run every team because everybody's got guys that go deep. And here is my advice. We're to the point in the season where there are a handful of teams, let's be honest, they're pretty much done. They're looking at their younger players, bringing up younger pitchers, saving some of their pitchers. Don't look at it just from your own team's perspective. Play somebody against a team that's towards the bottom, maybe even in the cellar of the NL or the AL. Those pitchers probably more likely to give up home runs. So you're ready to play your game today. Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a home run. Play ball and swing for the fences with FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. All right, here are 5 guys that I think you need to know about. They're either newcomers from transfer or barely played last year. Maybe they redshirted. Maybe they started like one game. These are the guys I think that are going to kind of wake up or at least be introduced to college football. And my first one I've talked about before on this show, and I just want it to be a reminder. Elite player, Mr. Juan Gaston, right tackle, sophomore, University of Georgia. Depending on the day of the week, he's over 350 pounds, maybe even over 360. But that big fella can move. I think he will be a top 10 pick in the 2028 draft. For those of you that don't know, he's only going to be a true sophomore. He's just humongous. Great guy, down to earth. And his feet, the way he can move lateral. I've never seen a guy that big move laterally the way Juan does. Love that upside. He has a chance to be a special football player. I mentioned a few minutes ago the Ahmad Hardy situation, and that sucks. He got shot, of course, life over football. He's recovering. He's been at practices, but we don't know what his situation is. If you're a Mizzou fan, that doesn't mean all is lost. Look, they've got some good players there in general. Their run game scheme, their running back coach, everything they do is really, really consistent. They had a running back last year that a lot of people didn't give enough respect to. And that's Jamal Roberts. He averaged like 6+ yards a carry last year. He's a dude. Don't be surprised if Jamal Roberts goes bonkers this year. When is Hardy going to be really available 100%? Do we know? No. Don't be surprised Roberts is one of those guys that sneaks in and starts making some names for himself and the team, and they might beat somebody because, like, again, everybody knows what they're going to run. It's outside zone. They're the best in the country at it. Will they be able to stop it? He's a dude. He's a dude. Rasheem Biles, linebacker, senior from Texas. He transferred in from Pittsburgh. I watched him play a couple times last year. That kid is just very instinctive, violent hitter, plays well in the pass game, blitzer. He's a little bit of everything. Texas went and got him from Pittsburgh. I mean, he was already good, but nobody talked about him. No offense to Pittsburgh, but it's not a household name anymore. Texas is, though. I think Rasheem Biles will be a dude for the Horns. Number 4, Jaden Woods. This is a sophomore at the University of Florida. I think he's from the Kansas City area, if I remember, but somewhere out there in Kansas. Anyway, the point is, pass rusher, had over 3 sacks as a freshman. He's going to get a chance to really unleash this year. First to second year growth. I expect to see quite a bit of it from big-time recruits, and he was coveted by numerous programs. Jaden Woods is going to be a guy. Finally, Jay Crawford, cornerback, junior, Ole Miss. He transferred from Auburn with their whole shenanigans last year. He got out of there, headed to Oxford. They needed a lockdown corner. That's their guy. Do not be surprised if Jay Crawford ends up competing for first or second team All SEC. He was really good last year at Auburn. Their defense was pretty good. Their offense was atrocious. But Crawford's the kind of guy you put on the other team's best wide receiver, and he's going to take it away or do really good and just almost take it all away. He can hold somebody that's a first or second round pick to 50 yards or less in a game. Not a lot of guys can do that. And Ole Miss's defense is going to be better. Will Eccles up front, etc. I'm curious to see how much they can get done on the defensive side this year to dictate more. Last year, they just tried to kind of hang on. I don't think that's going to be the case this season. All right, let's jump into the chat. I got all kinds of stuff going on in here. And thank you to everybody that showed up. I got a ton of stuff going on in the chat. Happy Sunday night to everybody. Salty Smitty, I drove through Northwest Indiana on Wednesday. It took so long that I missed the show. It happens, man. There was no power in huge swaths of the region. True. Functioning gas stations had 100-car lines. Oh, my gosh. It was end of days. That's pretty bad. Smitty, what was the worst weather you ever experienced while living in Indiana? When I was about 5 years old, that's when they had the blizzard of 78. I remember walking out of the porch, my mom going out to the street and going around the sidewalk and stuff to get to the car. What little we could do. For about 2 weeks, you could barely leave the house. It was insanity. Smitty, what was the worst weather-related event you've experienced living down south? Hurricanes. How many? It's one of the reasons that I left Florida, but I'm still basically there. I live just outside Pensacola on the Alabama side, but Tampa area and down through there has really picked up quite a bit. It doesn't seem to matter where I go. They find me. Tornadoes. I've seen it all. I've seen tornadoes where I'm from in Indiana. I've seen just about everything, man. Salty, the great one is garnering a lot of attention for those who have seen parts of Notre Dame's practices. He has been described as head and shoulders above any other receiver. Do you still feel he will be number 2 slot receiver? He's running with the ones now. I don't know if Mylan Graham has faded or if he's banged up. There just hasn't been much discussion about it. I don't know what's going on there because they're deep at slot corner. They got all kinds of guys. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, honestly. Quarterback rankings, Heisman favorites, teams capable of making the playoffs. Sounds like the total Big Ten plus Notre Dame podcast, not the total SEC podcast. That's hilarious. Salty, first, how do you rate the temperatures of the Beamer, Norvell, and Heupel hot seats? Heupel, I don't think is really on a hot seat. I think Beamer and Norvell will get fired. And to that end, I'll give my projections here. Matter of fact, you know what? I'll just do it now for my playoffs. They're going to be, I said going into today that there would be some SEC fans that are mad, and I wasn't kidding because I think they'll have several teams capable, but I don't think they'll get more than 4 teams in to the college football playoff. Just my opinion. I think it's pretty straightforward. I've got Georgia winning the league. I'm going to the SEC title game, going 11-1. I don't know who's going to win the title games. I don't know how the tiebreaker will work out exactly. But I also think that Texas will make it. I also think Oklahoma will make it, which is kind of an oddball circumstance there. And then you get into that teeter-totter point. Let me pull them back up just to show everybody what I have for my standings again, just to be clear. The one that's weird is Alabama. I think it'll be a little more smoke and mirrors, and I don't expect them to do much, but I got them going 10-2, which would put several teams, and this is just schedule. LSU, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, all at 9-3, who I all think are capable. Number one, you're not going to get 7 teams. And number two, you're probably not going to get 5. This is something I'm just going to go ahead and say, based on what advertisers want, they don't want one region dominating. They want everybody watching from everywhere to see their ads. I'm flat out a conspiracy theorist. They're going to push for that. So I think that'll hurt every region trying to get more teams. But could they get 5 if Trinidad plays really well? I think they could, but I think they're going to get 4. I went through the scheduling. I don't trust that anybody's ever going to get 5 with a 12-team playoff. I really don't, which in a way is a shame, but I get it. So that's my prediction as it relates to what's going to happen with the playoff in the SEC. I think they'll get 4, but I don't think they'll get a 5th. I don't think they'll get a 9-3 team, especially after how poorly Alabama played against Indiana last year. God, they were terrible. Let's see here. Which hot seat coach would benefit most from a 9-3 finish? Close, but not in the playoff. Close for the games, etc. Norvell, because he's on the hottest seat. They're not going to 9-3 at Florida State, brother. I cover Florida State. That ain't happening. So, over the next 5 years, do you expect the SEC's newest coaches, LSU, Bama, Florida, Auburn, Ole Miss, Kentucky, to outperform the most tenured 6 coaches? And please discuss Smart in detail. I don't think Kirby will be there in another 5 years. He's been around a while now, about 10 years, and that's a hard thing to do at a major job like Georgia. Within the next 3 to 4 years, I expect Kirby to step down. It's hard to be at one place that long because it grinds on you. So I'm not going to count him, but he is a great coach. Kiffin's interesting. Wherever he goes, when he leaves, it's always a dumpster fire. That's his history. But I think he'll win a title at some point. They might even be my preseason number 1 next year if Sam Leavitt comes back. He technically has another year of eligibility. Bama, I don't think that's going to work. I'm not a huge Kalen DeBoer guy in the South. I don't, but they're getting better. We'll see. Florida, I like Summerall, but we haven't seen him coach. Golish, same thing. I have no idea. Pete Golding, can they sustain the money they have to compete with LSU in Florida and Texas and stuff? I need to see that. I'm a little weary. Kentucky's never going to be consistent in football. They might have a great year, but they're not going to be consistent. Salty, which SEC transfer portal quarterback playing his first game with his new team do you expect to have the most success? In which do you expect to have the least? Ooh. That is really hard. I mean, Kenny Minchie's probably going to have the hardest time because I don't think they got enough talent on defense. They're going to have to ask him to do things that aren't realistic with the playmakers that he does have. But outside of that, Arkansas's got their quarterback back. Mississippi State, those are young guys. They need another year. Vanderbilt, they brought Jared Curtis. So really, Kenny's the only option towards those bottom teams. As for the middle of the pack, there really aren't. Everybody's bringing back somebody in the SEC for the most part. I don't think you're going to see very much from the portal guys. It's kind of an unusual year. Is DJ Lagway the answer this season? No, he's not the answer. He can't read a defense. So otherwise prove it. He can't read a defense. Salting, assume that Malik Washington enters the portal after performing similarly this season to last. For those who don't know, he was a freshman at Maryland last year. He's very talented. Which SEC team could he benefit the most? Probably South Carolina. Lenore Sellers is going to leave. If they do keep their system, and I'm going to assume he gets fired there, but if they do keep their system, the one that's in place would be a great fit for Malik. Salty, the College Football Playoff Committee has been roundly criticized for excluding Notre Dame, including Alabama, and selecting an active SEC school's AD to be its chairman. What changes do you foresee this season? Randomness, just like every year. I don't have any faith in that committee. any year. Salty, do you agree that the weekly playoff rankings releases started the first Sunday in November and the ESPN-led media focus on them damages the process? But if it started during the last 3 weeks, it wouldn't. I don't think that's necessarily the case because they would just do the same thing, but just wouldn't have as much of it. But they make too much money on that show not to air it. This is all about money, man. This is all about money. Here's a question that I have. Which SEC players do you feel are legitimate Heisman candidates? That's to anybody. And this is something I posted or I talked about. For the record, I believe Colin Simmons is the league's best overall player. I am very confident in that. I think he's really good. He does things that nobody else does. Even when you know he's going to try, he just does it anyway. He's a really big pain in the butt. Let's see. I think Chambliss and Manning are the top 2 Heisman candidates, says Salty, based on how the Heisman committee conducts business. They always go quarterbacks. Unfortunately, I do not disagree with Salty on that. Let's see. Which Notre Dame freshman arriving in the summer has surprised you the most by his performance, Teddy Gerard or Ian Premer? Also, which has actually had the best performance? I mean, I'm not at practices. I don't know, but ironically, those two are roommates. I would imagine Premer's having an easier time of it because Teddy's got to play quarterback. That's more about learning the playbook. Smitty, do you enjoy Brooks Austin, the film guy, as much as I do? I'm going out on a limb and predicting that you'll say yes. I know Brooks pretty well. We're good friends. I enjoy his stuff. I watch it quite often, actually. I was watching some of his stuff yesterday. Mateer and Levitt are also possible. Hurricane Hicks. I think that either one of them could win the Heisman. I think also either one of them could be the reason their teams don't even make the playoff or go 8-4. Those two are very volatile to me because I need to see Levitt be healthy. That's the easy one, and to a certain degree. Same with Mateer. But Mateer was with the same coaching staff, offensively at least, when he came down from Washington State. And they just weren't that good consistent. Like in the middle of the game, they would just hit patches where he looked really uncomfortable. I don't know what that stems from, but ironically, what Salty was talking about, Brooks Austin put up a film review with vertical film, meaning like up above, looking the same direction as quarterback. Man, he misses a lot of reads. They should have killed Alabama. He gave up 3 different touchdowns at least because he just didn't throw the ball. Guys were just wide open. I don't know what was going on with Alabama's secondary that night, but bus. Just flat out, no ifs, nobody near the wide receivers. Bus. And Mateer didn't let it go. It was wild. Really wild. Tommy Guns, what's going on, man? Hurricane Hicks, is this the year that the Big Ten is better from top to bottom over the SEC? I don't know if that'll ever be the case because the bottom of the Big Ten just doesn't get enough skill players. Let me give you an example. Like, I think Arkansas, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Vandy, that group is pretty much South Carolina. Usually they got Lenora Sellers right now. It's kind of in that group. But those teams get more skill players. Think about the skill players and edge rushers, et cetera, at South Carolina. Now compare that to the bottom 4 teams, whoever you want to pick. In the Big Ten, bottom 6 teams. They don't have anybody like that. That's the difference at the bottom. So right now, the Big Ten is just way better at the top because they're winning playoff games. SEC is terrible in playoff games. I don't know what the deal is. Salty, Hurricane Hicks, I feel that the bottom half of the Big Ten is still worse than the bottom half of the SEC, but it's not the given that it once was. That's a fair way to say it. It's more competitive. But, I mean, like Minnesota's better than they used to be. Obviously, Wisconsin's been up for most of the last 25 years. Michigan State's fallen off some. But Maryland and Rutgers are terrible. I don't think there's much doubt about that. UCLA is getting better, but it's still difficult. Hurricane Hicks, Salty, what about the middle of the conference? This is the hardest one for me, but I talked about this earlier. With the SEC, like Tennessee, Missouri, some of these teams either have new quarterbacks, freshmen, like Faison Brandon's going to be the quarterback, I think, before all said and done at Tennessee. I don't know who will start game 1, but by the middle of the season, he'll definitely be the starter, in my opinion. One of these teams that are somewhere in the middle to upper, this isn't their year. It's just not the way it's going to work. So Missouri's got a new quarterback, and I like him, but are you going to pick them to go beat LSU and Florida and all these teams? It's still a difficult gauntlet to go through in the SEC. I'm not sure who I would pick in the middle. Salty, Hurricane Hicks, the Big Ten might have the better middle, although it's close. It's kind of where I'm at. I don't know how I would exactly rank that. It's tough. I'd have to really take a look at it. Hurricane Hicks, where would Miami finish in the SEC with an average schedule, whatever that is? 10-2, 11-1 would be my guess. Depends. I mean, it just depends on your road games. Because if they're in the SEC, they'd actually get some crowds. That's the one thing. Miami's fan base is awful for showing up for home games, but they had an SEC slate. I think they'd show up. Hurricane Hicks, I wonder if Texas will get 4 or 5 teams in. I'm not sure what he means by Texas. I think he means the SEC. I think the SEC will get 4, but there could be 2 or 3 more teams that you could argue for the 5th. But again, it's just not. You're not going to get 5 teams in a league in a 12-team playoff. It's not going to happen. Jay Melvin, what's going on, brother? Brian, a lot of people have Notre Dame and Oregon in the championship. Who do you think has the edge in that game? The one edge, I like Notre Dame in that matchup particularly because I like Notre Dame's offensive tackles better. But everything else, like you could argue the quarterbacks one way or the other, 6 one way, half dozen the other. Defensive line, I like Oregon starters better. I like Notre Dame's depth better. Linebacker, I like Notre Dame a lot more. Secondaries, you could argue, along with Alabama, that Oregon and Notre Dame had the 2 best secondaries in the country. Running back, I think they're both loaded with talented players, but nobody's been proven as a true standout. The one wild card that I would give to Oregon, this is so weird to say, that I would give to Oregon, and he didn't even start last year. Jamari Johnson, watch out for him, the tight end at Oregon. He's a dude. But he was behind Kenyon Sadiq last year. I mean, that guy's, holy cow. I hope he gets healthy. I know he was banged up in fall camp for the Jets. And he was playing for the Jets. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that in the chat. But Oregon-Notre Dame would be a great game no matter when it was played. Jay Melvin, some also have us playing Texas in the title game. Brian, would you love to see Notre Dame, Texas, and Oregon battle each other in the postseason? Of course. To me, the dream Final Four is pretty wide open. There's a lot of teams that it could be. If it's LSU's in there, if it's Miami, if it's Ohio State, there are a lot of different opportunities. But the team that I think would be really unique to kind of get in there that I'm not sure anybody would want to play it again. I got them on the outside looking in the playoff. We'll see. Nobody thought it was going to happen last year either. Is Ole Miss. They've got a harder schedule this year, although I think they'll actually be a better team. If they get in, nobody's going to want to play against Trinidad Champa. So I just want to throw that out there. I have no idea where that's going, but I can see that being a problem for somebody. Jay Melvin, who's closer to those 3 out of Ohio State, Miami, Indiana, and Georgia, in your opinion? Ohio State, Miami, Indiana, and Georgia. That's a great group. Ohio State's got the most talent, maybe because they got Jeremiah. I don't know. That's tough. Maybe Miami. I don't know. Indiana's got the least talent of the group, but they're the best coach team in the country by a mile. That's not a newsflash. Georgia's the one that I think they can make a run, but they've got to allow, I've said this a million times, I'll say it again. They've got to let the quarterback be a playmaker, no matter, not just this year, but every year. And Gunner sometimes has to throw it around in the fourth quarter. Again, he's really good. They got to let him throw on first down more often. It's just really, really important. Let's see. I'm thinking the state of Texas could get 4 teams in the playoffs, long shot. But I see what you're saying. Well, I mean, that would be really hard because you're talking about Houston probably getting in there, Texas Tech, obviously A&M, and the Horns. Very unlikely, but it's possible, I guess. I mean, anything can happen. Like, I don't know, man. Like, the SEC, trying to predict, like I went through and did it, obviously, for this exercise. Do I really believe that Texas A&M is going to be the same team they were last year? They lost 4 offensive linemen, just to put it in perspective. That's difficult. Texas Tech, do I really believe they're going to sneak up on teams the way they did last year? No, but they're in the Big 12. The quarterback situation's iffy. We'll see what happens. Their schedule is a complete joke. They got the easiest schedule of any major college football team. But Texas, I mean, everybody knows that, but their schedule's crazy. I would think 3 would be quite the accomplishment. It's possible, but I don't know who else it would be. Texas, Texas Tech, SMU, and I forgot about SMU. I was thinking about Houston, so that's my apologies. Kevin Jennings, if they make it to I believe he's still in Charlotte. Correct me if I'm wrong on that as well, for the ACC title game. If they lose to Miami, they go. SMU needs to go 11-1. They got to go 11 because they lose to Miami. 3-loss team from the ACC is not going to get in as an at-large, in my opinion. Just my opinion. That's a good one. I forgot about SMU. Hurricane Hicks. SMU has already made the playoffs. That's right. The first year they played Penn State. They should have made it last year, but then they screwed it all up by losing to Cal. Remember that game? Because that's the one that Miami would have been in the top. They just laid an egg out at Cal. JKS, Jerron Kiabe Sangapula Tele, went crazy when he had to. He made some really nice throws. And, of course, they got playmakers there too. So, really good talent down in that area in Dallas, though, for SMU to recruit from. It's not hard to attract portal players that are there in Dallas. SMU could be a problem for a lot of teams for a long time. Thank everybody very, very much for another fun portal podcast, talking SEC. Hopefully, my guy Colin Simmons out there at Texas gets some love for the Heisman because he deserves it. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I've got my picks. Again, I don't know how much accuracy it'll be. Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma, and Georgia, my 4 teams going to the playoff. I got 3 more teams with 3 losses in the SEC, including LSU, including Ole Miss. Like it's difficult. Somebody's going to get left out. There'll probably be some mad people, but it is what it is. There's always going to be somebody left out, and there's always going to be somebody mad. Jay Melvin, good show tonight. Thank you. I appreciate it. Please share this podcast, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let everybody know about this show. I truly appreciate it. Everybody come back again on Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do another one. I'm not sure exactly what all is going on, but we're going to do some more similar stuff with regards to who's going to play. Might even do some games. Might even talk some game act because it's fun. Early season matchups, talk a few, maybe some coaches mix in, but we'll have some more fun with it. And again, please like and subscribe. This has been the Portal Podcast After Dark.